So one of the reasons we all love Bernie Sanders is his consistency over the years. So I have this awesome clip here. This is from the C-SPAN vault. Here he is in 1991. This is when he was just elected to Congress. Look at how awesome this is.
Not your first try to come to Washington. You're here now, 1991. What do you hope to accomplish?
Well, I'll tell you, Susan. We could spend 6 hours talking about all of the problems that exist in this country. I mean, the crisis in health care, the fact that we have 15% of our population without any health insurance, the collapse of our educational system, the fact that we are spending $300 billion on the military, despite the fact that the Cold War is over, the growing gap between the rich and the poor. I can go on and on. The fact that much of America is owned and controlled by relatively few people. But I'll tell you honestly what I think the most important problem is, and where I want to play at least some role. And that is that the average American, to a significant degree, is giving up on government. To me, the major crisis that we face is that in this last election, as you know, about 60% of the people, when given the choice of the Democratic and Republican parties in Congress, didn't vote at all. You know, all of us are dismayed that in South Africa, for example, black people can't vote. How many of us know that in this country, poor people don't vote anymore? The last election, presidential election in 1988, you had 50% of the people not choosing to vote for Dukakis or Bush. You have a situation in this era of anti-incumbency, throw the bums out. 96% of these guys got reelected. So the basic issue is how do you reinvigorate democracy? How to make the average working person, the elderly person, the poor person say, you know what, this is my government. Those people in Washington listen to me, they are representing my interest, and they're not just standing with the rich and the powerful against me. Now, how do you do that? That has to do with the media, who owns and controls the media. It has to do with the two-party system. It has to do with campaign financing and the fact that many of the candidates are heavily indebted to wealthy people and corporations who buy them, who buy politicians, who buy elections. So how we can begin the serious discussion, the national debate that we need, which says, where do we want to go as a country? Who has the power in this country? How do we democratize all of our institutions? How do we give working people power over their own lives? You know, we freed the slaves a long, long time ago, but in many respects, and I don't mean to be rhetorical about it, the average working person today has very little rights. Corporations announce a worker comes to work on a Friday, and the corporation says, oh, by the way, we're moving to Mexico. You worked for our company 30 years, here's a few bucks. You have no power to say, you don't have any power over your job. So I think the major challenge we face is not only a redistribution of wealth, which is important, but a redistribution of power, making the average American feel, this is my country, this is a democracy. I can shape the future. The people don't feel that now. They sit down, they watch the tube for 40 or 50 hours a week, they hold their nose, they vote for the lesser of two evils. Now that to me is the major problem, and once we can begin to deal with that problem, I think other things will follow.
Dude. Make this man president. Make this man president. Jesus Christ. He nailed it. Back then, he was talking, let's see, how I was born in 88, 89, 90, 91. So I was 3 years old, 3 years old at the time. He's talking about healthcare. He's talking about education. He's talking about our bloated military budget even back then. I mean, it's gotten even way worse since then. He speaks about our broken and corrupt system. He talks about outsourcing. He says, how much control do working people have over their lives when they show up to work one day and they hear, oh, by the way, your job is being shipped to Mexico. That literally just happened with I think is it the factory that makes the Cruze, the Chevy Cruze, or the Chevy Blazer. One of those factories shuts down. The Lordstown one shut down, but I think there might have been another one that shut down where they shipped production to Mexico. And this is still happening. This year, it's still happening. This dude was there all along, fighting for the people every step of the way. You don't have to question where Bernie Sanders' allegiance lies. He's made it crystal clear his entire life. And some people might turn around and say, yeah, but he's been talking about those problems. How many of them has he fixed since then? Well, listen, they called him the Amendment King. Did you know that? So he somehow got more amendments passed than anybody. And of course, they were amendments that were wonderful, that were fighting for the people. And so he found a way to maximize his power given his position. And he found a way to get his ideas implemented as good as possible. Because obviously there are limitations. He's only one guy. He's a congressman, and there's over 400 Congress people. I mean, what are you going to do? It's hard. But every step of the way, he was voting the right way. And then also, he actually got a lot done with his amendments. And then now, this dude's running for president, and he's the front runner. And we know when he's in office, he's going to do absolutely everything to get the policies that we need in this country. Medicare for all, free college, living wage. Do you have any idea how awesome Bernie Sanders' executive orders would be? I mean, even Obama was a neoliberal centrist, and even some of his executive orders, I was like, "Hey, awesome!" Like he raised the minimum wage for federal contractors. I was like, "Oh shit, he could do that? Yeah, he can." And he just did it through executive orders. He can't do it for the whole country, but he can do it for federal contractors. That was awesome. He started signing, pardons and commutations of nonviolent drug offenders towards the end of his time in office. Bernie from day one is going to be like, "Bitch, step aside, son. Where's my pen at? We're doing executive orders all day long for the people." Get this man in the White House. Get him in the White House ASAP.